Hello, everyone. So hopefully we're getting some audience to come check out our episode. This is episode 3, Misinfo, Disinfo, Pissinfo. Sarah, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. We have a guest.
We do.
Yeah,
Are-
so
yeah.
my co-host for OSINT Cocktail, Cynthia Navarro. So if anybody hasn't seen OSINT Cocktail, we are on, there's 4 of us, senior investigative women, and we talk about different movies and investigative pop culture. A little like this, but more of the professionally created stuff. So we're going to bring Cynthia in. If you haven't seen Cynthia before, she was the first president of the OSINT Osmosis Foundation, and we love her. So hi, Cynthia.
Hello, ladies.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
How are you?
Doing great. Doing great.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, you have an open invite to come join whenever you want, just so you know.
Okay.
So today we're really going to talk about misinformation mostly. We do have some other stuff about scams a little bit later. Thank you so much, Sarah, for getting all the sources for us, because I was slacking. I'm teaching a seminar all week and I could not get my brain together to put things in there. But luckily, Sarah takes care of it. So thanks, Sarah. All right. We're really going to talk about misinformation. Excuse me, I have the hiccups now. Misinformation. So why don't I show you the first clip? Let me get that ready. And again, this is our 3rd episode, so be nice. I'm trying to get there as far as getting this smoothly done. All right. Oops. Thank you. I think so too. All right, there we go. There's our first clip. All right, and we are watching.
Now, on the day of the rally, London's Met Police Service posted updates of how the day's events were unfolding. Here's one of those updates. The Met said a crowd of Unite the Kingdom protesters attempted to enter a sterile area. Officers were attacked with projectiles and have had to use force to avoid their cordon being breached. Now, along with that post, the Met also published this video. Let's take a look. Now, some internet users cast doubt on whether this footage was really shot on Saturday. Some asked Grok, the AI assistant on Elon Musk's X platform, where it was filmed. And in response, Grok said, this footage appears to be from an anti-lockdown protest in London's Trafalgar Square on the 26th of September 2020, during clashes between demonstrators and police over COVID restrictions. This answer was swiftly amplified by users on X, including the Daily Telegraph columnist Alison Pearson. Another person demanded the Met Police why it was, I quote, sharing 2020 footage and passing it offers yesterday to make it look like hostile aggression from people who were actually peacefully protesting. So a pretty widespread allegation against the Met Police. As we can see, this post has racked up more than 500K views. And yes, a damning allegation, Sharon. That is, if it was actually true.
Okay, so there's our clip about misinfo, our first one, and that is one's coming from Grok. You know what? I actually saw, I think the one where they're calling out the station and saying, "What are you doing sharing this old information?" And I did think, okay, this is common. People share old information. So I thought maybe that was true. I didn't bother to check much into it. Did you guys see that one online?
I did, and I think you're right. There is so much that's misinformation out there. I don't believe anything anymore unless if I really want to know, then I'm going to go and check to make sure, because there's so much out there. She said there were 500 views. So you figure if there were 500 views and they were sending out more stuff, then you're like triple, and you just keep going for how many people are sending it out until they realize, oh, this isn't true. And it's too late at that point, because it's flooding out, depending on how the community is taking it that's watching this.
First out, right? The first person who puts out the information out usually has an agenda. Sarah, what do you think about this?
I think it's interesting from a couple of perspectives. The first perspective is it just re-amplifies that people need more education on LLMs and artificial intelligence, and that you should always fact check and source check any information that you get from an artificial intelligence model like Grok. The second thing is I think it's also interesting is that it was used to interfere with police activities. So you actually have an example of a artificial intelligence model being used to interfere with police activities in a political environment. I agree that a lot of it was misinformation, but I think that some of the people who amplified it were actually conducting purposeful disinformation, which is deliberate. So that's kind of my take on it.
You go to my title. So, okay, so I titled this one Misinfo, Disinfo, Pissinfo.
Yeah.
All right. What's the difference between misinfo and disinfo?
Well, disinformation is deliberate. Misinformation is not. I mean, so, and most people, not most people, I mean, pretty much any person puts out misinformation. I mean, there's at some level somebody has believed in urban legend, or they'll, agree with something based on appeal to authority. They'll be like, "Oh, this has to be true because so and so said it,"
or this is the first thing they saw.
or it's the first thing they saw. Yeah, and so I think that everybody has had something that they believe that is misinformation, but when it's disinformation, that's when it's wrapped and it's deliberately or purposefully delivered to an audience in order to conduct perception management.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Cynthia?
I think the pisinformation could be here too, because they are trying to get some people angry and get them all riled up.
Oh, yeah.
In a direction, and it can be a specific direction. It could be to one person they're trying to direct this to and just like really get people angry. And so it can go a lot of different ways. And again, depending on how they're showing this information, how they're viewing it, and the words that they use.
Mm-hmm.
Because their words are going to be very important of what it is that they're putting out there. And that will bring in possibly that pisinformation.
Yes.
I agree with you. Absolutely. And I think also looking at the influencers that amplify it, that's also important too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so now what can somebody do if something like that comes across their screen? Like, for example, I am educated on all the misinformation and disinformation that goes out, and I didn't give it a second thought. I thought, oh, they're sharing old stuff. This is common, and I passed on by. What can we do to combat that personally? One, I mean, I should have been a little bit more skeptical, I guess. What can we do?
We mentioned it earlier, and it used to be in the, like, I remember when I took the Diaspo OSINT training back in the early 2000s. And one of the things that, was covered and that FIBIS used to cover, and I think the Open Source Center covered too when they were training their analysts.
Now there's Open Source Enterprise, by the way.
Okay, Open Source Enterprise. But, whether it was the DIA or the Open Source Center or pre that FIBIS, is you trained people on the news cycle and when to look at valid information in the news cycle. So I think that people need to understand or have more educational resources on that news cycle, and that the first portion of that news cycle, that old circle they used to give us in training, that first portion in that circle, that is the portion where you usually have inaccurate information. So when you have an earthquake, those first numbers that come out on victims are always wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never seen one instance of it being correct. And so I think that, just educating people on the news cycle and letting them understand that when something comes out first, that they should wait until it's a little bit in the middle of the news cycle to get more qualitative data on what's actually happening.
And that first stuff that comes out on the news cycle, some of it's misinfo, just because they're just not getting the right numbers and things are hectic.
Right.
But some of it is disinfo, because some people have an agenda and they know that the first thing you hear is going to stick in your head, and that is one of the 12 big biases, right?
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
And especially where are you getting the information from? So do they lean towards a different way of how they provide the information? So
it's Grok. It's AI. It was Grok. It was AI. So that's the thing that kind of gets me, is that, yes, we know that the owner of that specific AI, and probably the other ones. I mean, we may not see it happening as much, but that owner does have some input into what the AI says. But this is before, this is like early on, and usually you would think that it was going to be honest early on, but it's not that Grok wasn't honest. I think it was misinfo again, even on Grok.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, the all of the AI LLMs have, hallucinations to a degree, and then on top of that, all of the models have different levels of biases. So that's the other area I think that you need to have education with just the general public is on how these models work, and what a hallucination is, and what a bias is, and how those work, and if you combine that concept with the news cycle and the fact that things can go out much quicker from an AI model.
This is a throwback to our last episode.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Our last episode, we discussed how quick these things come out from AI models. So that's another part of the issue, I think, as well. I thought one of the other things I liked about this clip was that she did the debunk kind of at the front end. She's like, this is the police activities, this is what they were doing. And then she said, this is what Grok said. And I think that's also maybe another effective way to couch it for audiences, or to couch it in a production of a debunking product, is instead of having the debunk at the back end, is have it bluff, up front. And so that people say, okay, this is the debunk first. Now let's look at the disinformation. And maybe that would change the way they think about it a little bit too.
I'll tell you what I liked about this clip.
Yeah.
I want that tool she has. I want to be like,
oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, it's really pretty. Yeah, the graphics are nice. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. How about I show another clip? Okay, so remove from the stage. Let me grab a new one. And again, I'm just waiting to be more smooth with this, but let's see. What is our second one?
Because it's on drones over Poland.
Okay, let's see if I can find that. All the chats are like in a great big line, all the sources rather. Okay, I got it.
You're on top of it.
I'm on it. Here we go. Here's the second clip.
Oh, no, that's a different one, but that's okay. That one's on the Russian disinformation project pushing.
But that's what I have second on my list. So I'm going down the list.
Okay.
All right. What's interesting is that it doesn't seem to be changing on the share. So I'm going to stop share for a minute and put it back to stage. All right, let's try again. It is not playing correctly. I'm going to remove it and add it back in. I wonder how touchy this thing is. We're using StreamYard. You can see in the little up corner up there, little StreamYard icon, and we're using the free version because we're going to use that until we make money, and then maybe we'll buy the paid version. But I wonder if there's a little bit of a quirk that, because I stopped it so quick and went out, that it didn't like it. So we'll just try again. Add the stage. Yep, there we go. It's in the right spot now. Here we go.
Spreads about Polish drone incursion. After at least 19 Russian drones entered Polish airspace in early September, a pro-Russian disinformation campaign emerged online, casting doubt over what really happened. In a number of posts, users alleged that it was in fact Ukraine that patched up Russian drones before deploying them to Poland. Some accounts claim this operation was carried out in cooperation between Ukraine and Poland. These claims fit into a wider conspiratorial narrative which purports that Ukraine actively wants to provoke World War III. Another online narrative alleges that a house which was destroyed in eastern Poland after being severely impacted by an object during the drone incursion was in fact hit by a storm. There is no evidence to support this storm hypothesis, and many of the accounts who have peddled this narrative relay Russian propaganda. For instance, this post is signed off of the mention FRWL, an acronym which means From Russia with Love.
All right, we're going to stop it there. We don't want to show everybody, the whole video. We want people to go to these videos. And so the links will be available on the YouTube channel afterward. I want to highlight something really quick. Lenzo family, thank you so much. Said when I was fiddling around there, said pull all the levers. And this is Andrea, who I know she does AI stuff. And we were supposed to meet in Boston, and I was not able to go. So hopefully we'll catch up with each other soon, right? Do you guys see the comments at all, Sarah and Cynthia?
I can't read them, but
yes, I see it now. Oh, okay. Hi, Lenzo family.
Okay. All right. Okay. We love that, and it would be awesome if you have anything to share with us. We would absolutely love it. And for example, even sending us sources if you think so, things that we should be covering. All right. Let's talk about this clip. Disinformation about the Polish drone. Sarah, what do you got to say?
I thought that Euronews did a good job with doing a debunk of what happened, and they did it fairly early. They didn't do it too early in the news cycle. They waited until some of the disinformation narratives were coming out, but they didn't wait too long either before doing a broadcast and saying, "Hey, this is bollocks." But I also liked the way that she was doing the debunk, the actual logical process that she was going through in her newscast. I thought it was easily digestible. And then I think it also provides insights into what we were talking about with the first one is you can't always believe that first news article or that first video that you see on a topic. Because if you have a news, like at the Oklahoma City bombing in 95, that morning, I got a phone call, from a local news station, because at that point I was doing Middle East studies. Will you comment on the Middle Eastern terrorists? And my first comment was, "There's no proof on who the terrorists are," but they jumped the gun and said, "Oh, it has to be somebody from the Middle East." With this, the Russian propaganda apparatus that was pushing this. They tried to do the same thing, say, "Oh, this is Ukraine." So they tried to, do an info op and blame it on Ukraine. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, again, that keep your mind open. So those first news reports come out, and maybe you think they, match with your worldview, and you think, "Oh, this seems like it's right." But keep your mind open regardless. Keep your mind open about it until the facts come out. And in fact, on Facebook, we had a little discussion about this, and my thought is that I'm going to keep my mind open until the trial. Because one thing I noticed, I've been trial watching lately, is that when these trials happen, so much more detail comes out, right? You get to see the nuts and bolts. And that's when you can really make up your mind.
Yeah. And I think you have to be really careful, in the media environment, especially with the AI and the deep fakes, that you have to be really careful with trying to figure out what is real and what's not. So,
yeah, okay.
I agree with you, and I'll have to say that someone else that's really great that explains this is Bellingcat. Always watching that along with ProPublica. So I know that those are some things I may reach out and believe a little bit more than I'm going to on a lot of other news that that pops up. And you are correct, especially when I worked on cases and I watched the news talk about it, and I'm like, that's not right. Where did they get that information from? And they're not purposely going out, as Sarah, as you had talked about earlier. It's like right at that moment, that's what they have. You have to be careful no matter who it is that's giving this information out, and look for it and keep looking for it, not just at that very beginning, that very first article. Go down to about the fifth or sixth one, and then you're going to have some different information and additional stuff that's coming up, and some people walking back a little bit because they were too eager to get that out so quickly.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that Bellingcat, as you said, does a really good job of geopolitical analysis on debunks. So
I wish they would continue with their podcast. That was great. I loved their podcast. But, okay,
their Discord is awesome, I will say.
Oh, okay. I am in the Discord, but I don't use Discord that often. I should use it more. It just shows Gen X. Woo. but I should get into Discord more often.
Yeah. That one is their Discord. I like going to and checking things out. So definitely well worth it.
Let's show another clip. This one is on the topic of probably the month or even the year or whatever, and this one has to deal with Charlie Kirk. We're not going to get very political. I just want to highlight a little bit that's what this one is about. It's about misinformation, though. Again, it's not necessarily about him exactly as much as it is about misinformation.
You've almost definitely seen the headlines about the fatal shooting of US conservative commentator and Trump ally Charlie Kirk. This only happened yesterday, and the investigation is still unfolding. So let's be clear, we don't have all the facts yet. What we do know is that Mr. Kirk was shot in the neck at Utah Valley University during his American comeback tour. He was rushed to hospital, but was later pronounced dead. 2 people were taken into custody in the hours after the shooting, but both have since been released. As of the time we're filming this, no suspect has been formally charged or confirmed in custody, and a manhunt is still underway. But here's the problem. When information is scarce, social media loves to rush in and fill the gaps. Within hours of a major news story like this, posts will start popping up claiming to know exactly what happened, who the shooter was, and what their motives were, all before the facts even have time to catch up. And we've seen this cycle before. After the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in 2024, some users online insisted that he hadn't actually been hit, or that the Secret Service had staged the whole thing. Closer to home, after the Bondi Westfield stabbings last year, completely innocent people were wrongly accused of being responsible on social media. In moments of chaos, misinformation spreads faster than the truth. That's why it's so important to not jump on the first explanation you see. Don't assume the loudest or most viral post is the most accurate. In Charlie Kirk's case, the situation is still developing. So take a step back and wait for confirmed updates from credible sources.
Okay, again, that's a short, a YouTube short, so we did see a little bit more of it than I normally would show. But I think the really important thing is the talk about social media filling the gap, right?
Yes.
So yeah, there was so many people, now when we're filming this, we know the suspect. He's been charged already, not only arrested, but charged already. But there was so much news that first day before he was even identified. There's so much stuff pushed out that it was insane. And I think this is the most insane one that I've ever seen in my life, as far as like news pushed out before there was any real information.
Yeah.
I saw actual doxing online of I saw an instance of doxing online of when I'm not going to say who, but on LinkedIn of somebody who doxed somebody who didn't do the assassination attempt, saying that was the person who did the assassination.
Right, and that happens pretty often. I think, like with the school shootings and stuff, people in a rush to get the answer first. They'll find somebody who, well, this seems to match. Okay, that's it. They put the information out. And so it's just so sad. And you see some lawsuits now happen because of that, which I support. We have to temper ourselves and wait for information. The law enforcement, they're the ones who are going to be jumping on it. And this kind of throws back to our first episode, where you can get in there, you can help do some investigation from your own computer, but there's only so much you can do, and pushing a narrative or pushing the first information you hear, re-amplifying that is not necessarily helpful.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Cynthia?
Well, as I was watching this, I know there was, I'm trying to remember if I saw it on Instagram or LinkedIn, where they were trying to show another person that had shot him that was right next to him. And they had the individual sideways, and they had a gun here.
I saw that. Yeah.
And were pointing it out. Look at this. They went like a frame by frame. And that honestly even got me going, I'd have to see that myself. It just seems like I didn't see it anywhere else, only in this one spot. And so, but again, you probably have a lot of other people, because it seemed reasonable enough the way they had showed it. Did you see it, Sarah?
Yeah, that one actually circulated. So I did see that one.
I did.
But I saw the debunk of it, where they were like, no, that's too close. For
there's
that.
a lot of misinformation also going about where was the gun? How did the guy get the gun and he didn't look like he had it, or when he was leaving he didn't look like he had it, or something like that. And the fact is that we only see whatever got released.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that That young lady, though, really gave a great description about what to watch for. And we need more of that out there because we need to educate everyone. It's not just a few people here and there. People need to be educated on that for
We
any
can't be
time.
so reactive as a society. We cannot be so reactive.
Yeah.
I saw there was an article somebody shared in a Signal chat that I'm in, where the article, I'm trying to think of where it was published, I'm not sure, but the person is scared that the social network is actually the end of democracy in the fact that how well it can be gamed. It's not like the idealized idea we had of it back in like 2006. I don't know if it's the end of that, but we all need to get a little smarter for sure.
Yeah,
as a world, not just as a country, as a world. You ready for another one?
Yeah.
All right. Let's throw in. Okay, you were right. This was the wrong one before when I switched it, and that's why it didn't play right. I'm getting better at the levers. I'm getting better. All right. So anyway, here we go.
Media reports celebrity quotes and fake images are all being used by Russian-aligned media following the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. That's according to a new report from the Center for Internet Security and Institute for Strategic Dialogue, which says efforts have been focused on inflaming passions amongst conservative and LGBTQ+ audiences.
Their objective is to sow discord amongst the populace of the U.S., to undermine the public's confidence in government, and to inspire additional acts of violence.
Analysts finding posts that falsely allege Ukrainians are celebrating Kirk's death, also blaming Ukraine for his murder. One post included a fake quote from actor Pedro Pascal responding to a fake statement from President Trump. And another claims the BBC.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop that right there. One thing I want to say is that there's another meme that's going around, like a picture, and this is not a new one at all, but it's at the United States, and it's got Russia and China both poking it with a stick, saying "fight, fight," right?
I absolutely. No, when I came back to the States, I think it was in end of 2019 or 2020. No, end of 2019. That's when I went back. I was really surprised at the domestic perception management campaigns that were going on from foreign actors, because I was used to seeing those like when I was in Baghdad in 2002 or some of the other places that I've traveled, and so I wasn't used to, or I'm sorry, 2003, not 2002, but 2002 was Riyadh, but I was really surprised at seeing how what I was used to seeing as perception management in other countries was being done in the US by foreign countries, like whether it was China or whether it was Russia, or there was another one that I saw, I think that might have been Iran. But it to me, it was very shocking to see this, just this saturation that was going on, and it really took me a while to get used to it. And I think it's just amplified since then. It hasn't gone away. It just keeps rolling and getting more. So
I kind of have a similar experience, actually, not with that exact thing, but when I was working in a specific analyst shop, we had a lot of people from different countries, and people would say, "Oh, those Iranians, they are the worst conspiracy theorists. They always have all these conspiracies." And then now I see we have all the conspiracies.
Yeah. Like there was the one, like, I don't know if you saw the one, like they said that there was spy squirrels. This was when I was in Baghdad in 2003, but there was one on spy squirrels that were in Iran, that they captured these spy squirrels that had been set with equipment to do spying. And I'm thinking, this is the silliest, stupidest conspiracy.
But some of them aren't even stupid, right? Epstein.
Yeah.
Okay, right. That's all that needs to be said about that.
Yeah. But I think that that Russia and China have had levels of effectiveness with this. I mean, just look at the last. We had polling stations that were closed down from bomb threats, and the emails for those bomb threats came from IPs from different countries. So. I think that
were they VPNs, or were they really from different countries?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. But I think that's where OSINT really comes into information verification and national security issues, because you have this environment where in this news article, or news video later on, it talks about the bots being used more in depthly about the bots that were being used. You have to have analysts working on this stuff to debunk it. And that's a part just not for educational awareness for the general public. That's teaching analysts about, this is how you recognize bots.
National security. And I think that there's a lot of think tanks and even some of the investigative journalists who see that that's important as well.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Helen Cat as one, but even things like people from the Times, from, Vice
and Gaijin,
yeah,
they've done a lot on it as well, as
that's
has
GIJN for anybody who wants to.
And also the journalist media center out of UT Austin, University of Texas in Austin. They've done a lot on it too. So I mean, I think it's important also for news reporting, just so you have truthful information, and for advising the general public on what's real and what's really going on. But from a national security implication, I mean, it's a big deal. I don't think that we have enough people dedicated to countering, or to not countering, but even assessing the scope of this foreign influence saturation that is occurring in our information environment.
Can I give us another throwback to last week? Okay, last week I talked about how in AI, most of the stuff online is already AI, and that AI is not bias free either. There's a reason it's going online. Somebody's putting that online, and so foreign countries can throw a lot of stuff about us, telling, I'm an American, I do this, and here's what I think. We don't know that that's not an American. You're on the internet. Could be a dog, right? What's that old meme? So there's a lot of soul searching every person needs to do about how they think about things that come across the internet to them.
Well, and I mean, Kirby, as you know, you've had a dog that went out and checked social media platforms for you at one point.
I did.
Yes, you did. And that actually was much earlier than the fake personas that you had on X and that you had on Facebook. Although that dog was very active on Facebook, or two dogs. But with Twitter, if you look at some of the influencers on Twitter, some of the points that were made by those dogs cross-apply to what became X Twitter, because some of the trusted accounts on X Twitter are opaque actors. One is not an animal at all. It's part of an animal. Yeah. So I won't go there to the name, but there is something with the way that these fake personas are made that you can influence audiences, because they are a lot of times will feel less threatened by something that is not a human that is in their face.
Can I suggest anybody who really wants to learn more about the bots and the kind of influence campaigns, especially on X specifically, follow Conspirator Norteño. Right?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I will put that in the comments for YouTube. So when this video is on YouTube, if you're watching it now, go down and look at the description, and Conspirator Norteño will be in there. I think that is one of the best accounts, a great research who's researching these bots.
Oh, okay.
That was good. That was good.
All right. I'm going to switch it out. Keep talking.
Coffee.
Coffee. So Sarah's drinking coffee because she's in Germany. I'm at happy hour. I got a little 1792. But what time is it, Sarah?
It is very early in the morning.
Yep.
Okay. I'm right, I think bushy-tailed.
Yes, very early. Sarah, hey, I said I need to run this at happy hour, and she said, "Okay, I'll be there." Right? It's happy hour for you too, right, Cynthia? This is the right, at least the right time.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we got another clip I'm about to put on the stage. There we go, and we're going to go ahead and play.
We received a phone call from my youngest daughter, Zandra, And she was telling me in a bit of a panicked way that I had to delete all my social media accounts because my name and image was out there associated with a shooting that had happened in the US. I hadn't heard of the shooting, and I've never heard of Charlie Kirk. So this was just shock and horror that, first of all, there'd been a shooting, and second of all, that I was in any way named or implicated in it. I recognized the photo of me, obviously, but I just couldn't think where it came from. It actually came from an old Twitter account. It's quite alarming that something like this happens, that misinformation like this can get out there and just spread so quickly.
Is this misinformation or disinformation in this case? Because somebody was searching, like one of the person that they grabbed second, I think, the older man who said, I did it, and was wrong. But then they decided it was him based on the looks of the guy, right? And maybe that this guy's an activist in the UK. That sounds disinformation to me. That sounds like, I mean, it could be misinformation. Maybe they really did think that it was him, but that's so loosely connected, so loosely.
But how did they come up with it though, Kirby? Because
I think it's because he's an activist. He's an activist in the UK. I don't know what he's an activist about, but he's an activist of some sort. And whoever it is that saw that, they already know of him. They're like, oh, that looks like so-and-so. And so then they're
so
not enough evidence to be pushing.
They're saying he's a Toronto man. That's,
yeah. Oh yeah, Toronto. That's what I meant. Toronto.
Canada.
Okay. I just happened to catch that down there.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well, and that's actually what I think that's a really good point is this kind of targeting or doxing of false people and blaming them for events or a false accusation. It can kind of be used like swatting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so his daughter was panicked. He said so. He had to. She wanted him to remove all social media because she knew, she saw when people got, mobbed before on social media.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And now, I mean, it's so easy to figure out where somebody is from their background.
Just put up this video into AI and have it help you figure out exactly where he is. In some cases, it might tell you the exact location.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot to it. Okay, here's another what I would consider not misinformation or disinformation or even although maybe this might be pisinformation, but more of a grift. So I'm going to share the screen. It's about those crypto boys who think everything is a money grab, right? So this one's an article instead coming from Bloomberg. Crypto bros are trying to monetize Charlie Kirk's death. So scrolling through here, it starts talking about some of the people who created meme coins based on Charlie Kirk. They're trying to harness that emotion that's out there and bring it into this news story. What do you think about that? What do you think about creating these meme coins based on Charlie Kirk?
Well, I think you probably have some people that just really love Charlie Kirk, so they need meme coins, but you also have people that are totally going to grift off of this.
Right. I think that the thing is the people who really love Charlie Kirk, they may have thought that this goes to his family because it's the Kirk coin, right? They may have thought that goes to his children, right? But not necessarily.
And how much can they, donate to his young family? It's a young family. I don't know what his financial status was, but that would be the first place anybody would go to. I want to be part of this. I want to help the family. It's like a GoFundMe in a whole different manner, You
got to be careful those GoFundMes because you hear something in the news, people jump on that immediately to claim that we have the GoFundMe for them so that they can grab that information. And I think that was one of the main cases for even BLM, where a lot of people were donating, and some woman, she took almost $500,000.
Right.
Because people were donating to what they thought was that movement, and it was really somebody's own bank account.
I think, interestingly, this also lays a precedence for future events because, like, before, you'd have, like, the GoFundMe account, and you'd have scam GoFundMe accounts where people would, give to fake people. But now I think that cryptocurrency scams and meme coin scams, and that can be more easily combined with political events. So I think that you could have, this just somebody's going to look at this and say, oh, okay, so the next time something happens, I'm going to run this kind of scam. So
yeah. Okay, we're going to jump off that topic.
Okay.
And let's talk about scammers.
Yes.
Just in general, not having to do with political news. All right, here's what we got coming up on the stage. ChatGPT. Used to help scammers do their thing in Asia fraud scheme. Sarah, what do you want to tell us about this?
Well, I think that before, like, you had some job fraud scams on Facebook that were like, oh, come be made at this location, and it actually was an ad for like human trafficking, or they would do that prior to Facebook on back pages. Now I think that ChatGPT just makes that whole thing, the system, quicker for getting that stuff up.
Force multiplier, right?
Right, it's a force multiplier. So I mean, force multipliers can be used for good and bad. So like when 2008, when I said, that Twitter could be used by terrorists, everybody was like, oh, how dare an analyst say that? But the one person who I thought couched it nicely was Bruce Schneider, when he said, well, yeah, okay, so terrorists can also use a can opener. So the point is that the AI is the same thing. So everything that is good about AI can be used positively and negatively. So in this instance, that force multiplier can be used for getting fraud schemes out quicker. And as we all know, the work fraud schemes, a lot of times, those could be either to steal money from people who are trying to get a paid visa, but there is a human trafficking element to some of these. And so I think that the people that are doing human trafficking investigations, they need to incorporate this now as something that they have to look out for in their investigations.
Yeah, and this one from this article specifically, is specifically about human trafficking, where somebody was lured into a scam compound and kind of stuck there for a while.
Right.
I want to know how he got out. That's because, it's hard when they're, I'm sorry?
You'll have to read the article.
I know. It's like, I had all kinds of thoughts. My thoughts go out then to also to Erin West, because she deals a lot with this and is always, putting up what's going on, what's
especially
really
with
happening.
those compounds. I love that she went to look at them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was interesting because the compounds are all very different depending on how much money they're actually scamming. You then bring in the scamming of the Yahoo boys.
I think that there's a perception from 15 years ago where these scammers, they live in a neighborhood, but they all come to work like a regular office, and then it's on one floor of an office building, and they're just doing their own thing, and then they go home at night. And where we're learning now is that no, they're basically human trafficked into a compound in some cases. They live at the compound, and those compounds are run by organized crime.
Yeah.
And I think it also depends on what country it is too. So there are countries where you have the 9-to-5 scammers. I mean, like you had the scam centers, and you might have been referring to some of the ones that had been in St. Petersburg.
I'm referring to mostly India. I think India.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, they still do those. Yeah, they still have those as 9-to-5
because they're sneaky.
Yeah, and we have some of those in the United States. So, but I think it has evolved. That people's learned, just like with the fishing industry, that they can use cheap labor by using slave labor, and therefore they're going to do human trafficking.
And it is human trafficking because they sell these folks back and forth to other scammers. Maybe this person isn't doing as well, or maybe they're doing very well, so they're worth more money to sell them for now than to keep them because they can make more money right away. So you have a lot of the human trafficking going on. And it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's a prostitution. It's just
Exactly.
another form of slavery.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, let me add another one to the stage. And this is going to be another scammer kind of sort of thing. And it has to do with someone. I actually did a kind of an expose maybe 2 years ago about somebody who tried to be my friend on Facebook. And it turns, I knew he was a romance scammer because his Facebook page was all him with puppies and then roses and whatever, but I threw my little investigation up on my blog. It's still up there if anyone wants to see it. But this is kind of a similar one to that.
Okay.
Pretending to be this Max Ants person who has stolen the images of Yossi Ben Abu. Have you heard of that name before?
I have not.
Okay, so that's the real man in the images. So his images have been stolen, and this person that you're talking to has stolen his images to pretend to be a different person.
All right. So the cool thing about that is that that is social catfish. That's a tool, a paid tool that you can use, and it's a good tool. I think that a lot of times I don't necessarily put out that much money for that kind of thing, but I love that she has that video up there because it does show that she's talking to the victim. She's saying, "Here's the real person behind it," and I think that's really useful.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Got a comment.
Money?
Pop it over. There we go. Here's the website for the global anti-scam organization, GASO. And so we will put that in our YouTube.
Thank you, Lenzo family.
Yes, thank you. Love it. Okay. What do you guys think? Sarah?
What do I think? Well, I think that one was an easy one to find because you just had to reverse image search because the person stole somebody else's real identity. I think that these kind of scams are going to become more advanced and more nuanced with being able to use fake camera metadata in your prompts when you're making AI images. So so now you can make very realistic.
You don't need to steal anybody's identity anymore. You make somebody new.
No. I mean, so for the knowledge base, actually, just this week that I sent a draft to Kyle for, we sent out a weekly newsletter or weekly summary. And Kirby can talk more about that. But when I was working on it, one of the things is that now you can do prompts, or somebody realized, you could probably always do it, but somebody realized, oh, I can make a prompt using what looks like metadata from a camera. So all they have to do is copy what would be in an XF lookup tool and then tweak it, put it in an AI prompt and say, I want an image that includes this kind of XF data in its look. And
right.
then you
can take it to an XF data editor and put that in the actual metadata.
Yes. And then you have a pretty good image that is going to bypass most AI detection tools. So I actually tested it, and the two that I tested, most AI detection tools were like, oh, this is a real person, even though it was an AI.
Because they're looking for the AI signature, and you don't have it in those, especially.
No.
So
Yeah.
I think that if anybody wants to see what Sarah's talking about, it's on your LinkedIn. Right?
It is on my LinkedIn. That's right.
I love seeing it there. So
okay. Yeah, I do also have it on my LinkedIn. So I think that, this one was pretty easy to look up the profile image. I think it's going to become more problematic for investigators in the future, and they're going to have to look at other parts of the profile to confirm that it is indeed a scam. Versus, oh, I got it done in 30 seconds. It's a scam because it's this famous football player.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to share one more video. I mean, we're at the time close to ending, but I want to share one video that Sarah put in there, and this is the scammer makes a deepfake video. I think this one's fantastic. All right. A scammer made me a deepfake video. This is the scammer making an AI video. Say he's real.
You're doubting my tension. I want to reassure you that I'm real. I don't have anything to hide from you. I'm not here to scam you, honey. I recorded this video just for you to prove my sincerity. I want you to know that I'm real. And I also want to know if you're real, please, my darling.
All right. Now, the first thing I want to say is he sounds a little robotic, but these voices don't need to be that robotic. There's a lot more realistic ones out there.
Yeah.
He can do a little bit better with his voice. I think it's really interesting that he actually looks like he's lying. So he says that I'm real, and he blinks, and he says I'm not to scam you, and he rolls his eye to the side when he says scam. I'm like, you could have programmed that better to look like a liar.
Right.
But anyway, what do you think, Sarah?
Well, I thought it was a very well made AI generated video, but I do think that it would pass with people that are not used to AI generated videos, and that that want to believe. When you look at the industry in the United States of romance scams, there's that series they have right now on Netflix. I forget the name of it, but there's a series.
Yeah, you had it in, so it's like
In the
rom-com
notes.
or something.
Yeah. So rom-con. So they mentioned in there that it's it's an over $1 billion industry, and there's so many people in the United States that are in romance scams, and a lot of it is because they want to feel loved or they feel alone, and so they, even if there are tells, sometimes they'll overlook them because they want to have hope. And so
I want to say something about this. So I'm not going to say any names or anything, but a friend of mine, his father was talking to someone on the phone who had been calling him, who there was a scammer basically, and sending her small amounts of money. And as far as I know, it was small amounts of money. It might have been more than I thought. But at any rate, when he knew what was happening, his dad said, I don't care. I want to talk to her.
Wow.
What do you do with that?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I've done some of those too, that they don't want to believe it. And it's like, well, have you done this? Have you done that? And they are very good at reading people, what to say. These scammers are great. They are.
Yeah, well, they've trial and error. They've done so many of them. They know what works and what doesn't work.
And what to look for and who to look for.
So, for OSA investigations, it sounds like you've worked on some of these cases already, Cynthia. I think that this is going to be a growing field in OSA investigations or private investigations, just because it is so prevalent.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
So, do you have anything you want to add to that?
It can go in a lot of ways. It can also go if you're putting money into someone that claims to, I can make you this much money. And I know some folks that lost money in a scam like that, but it was a real person. But we're talking millions of dollars, and it could go probably into the billions if you went that far back. But
I had someone ask me before, is this a scam or not, before they invested? And I said, this doesn't look right. It's probably a scam. There's like no history, no underpinning for this. They invested anyway because the lure was too strong.
Oh, yeah. And you have to you have to do your due diligence in it. It's like, I started running stuff and it's like, oh my God, this person is not even licensed. They lost their license. But that, for them, they knew that lingo, what to say, how to get them in. And they made up that FBI there was a partner they had. And
oh, yeah. I see a lot of these partnerships on some of the ads, and I'm like, that is not a partnership. There's no way that organization's partnering with you, but you say so in your ad, so people will believe you.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a lot of things. You have to do your due diligence no matter what. But they're not going to do that if they, as Sarah and you had described, they're lonely people. And they need to have
they want that connection. Even if it's a scam, they want the connection.
Yeah. Yeah, they need it desperately. So it's really sad. And some people, you would think that it's like, you didn't check this, you didn't check that. Hey, you know what? Don't shame those victims, because there's a lot of other things going on. It's real easy to say, how could you be so stupid? That's not the point. It's an emotional. It's all emotional.
And it can happen to anyone. You think you're scam proof because you're smart and you're an investigator or whatever. You're not scam proof. One emotional day and you're down.
Yeah. And rapport works. I mean, you can use rapport for good or bad, but I mean, rapport in scams works.
Mhm.
I do want to say I have met both of these two women in person. They're real.
I don't know about her though, Sarah.
I believe that I'm real too, and it's what I believe.
My dog's real.
Your dog is real, absolutely. All right,
Absolutely.
we're gonna kind of close out now, and I thank you so much, Sarah, for being my co-host, and Cynthia for joining us. And like I said, feel free to come back next Wednesday if you're interested.
Yeah,
Right?
please do. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All
All right.
Thank you so much, and
Thank you so
bye.
much.
And thanks everyone who watched us
Bye.
live. This will be up on YouTube very soon. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.